Chapter 1. The Life of a Bachelor Millionaire. Adrian Harper, a name synonymous with success, charm, and power. As the owner of the largest real estate chain in the city, he graces the covers of financial magazines, always impeccably dressed in tailored suits and often accompanied by gleaming supercars reflecting the sun. Adrian is the kind of man everyone admires, but few can truly reach. In Adrian's life, there is no room for love or marriage. He relishes the freedom to enjoy the finer things that wealth brings without the constraints or responsibilities of a serious relationship. To him, love is merely an unrealistic romantic notion, and marriage is even more unattainable. Amidst all this glamour, there is one person who holds a special place in Adrian's heart: his mother, Eleanor Harper. Eleanor is a resilient and intelligent woman who has been the greatest driving force in his life. After losing her husband in an accident, she single-handedly raised Adrian to become the self-reliant and accomplished man he is today. To Adrian, she is not just his mother, but also a confidant and a role model he aspires to emulate. However, life doesn't always align with human desires. Recently, Eleanor was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Although she maintains a calm exterior, her doctor has warned that her time is limited. This news has been a devastating blow to Adrian. While he tries to stay strong in front of his mother, deep inside, he fears losing the most important person in his life. One evening, in the warm and cozy atmosphere of their family kitchen, Eleanor suddenly took Adrian's hand. Her eyes were gentle, yet filled with earnestness. "Adrian," she began, her voice trembling slightly but steady, "I have only one wish before I go. I want to see you happy, with a family of your own." Eleanor's words struck Adrian like a dagger to the heart. He didn't know how to respond. Throughout his life, he had always avoided the idea of marriage and family, but the longing in his mother's eyes made it impossible to refuse. He simply nodded gently, yet he couldn't sleep a wink that night. Sitting by the large window of his penthouse, Adrian gazed down at the shimmering city lights. He thought about his mother and the promise he had tacitly made. "How can I fulfill my mother's final wish without shattering my world of freedom?" Adrian wondered. Then, in the faint glow of dawn, a bold idea began to take shape in his mind. Welcome to today's meaningful story. Let us know which city in the world you're following this story from, so we can see how far it has spread. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to never miss more touching stories like this one. Chapter 2. The Encounter at the Cafe. The next day, as usual, Adrian stopped by a small cafe tucked away in a quiet corner of the bustling city. It was a place he often visited to find some peace amidst the chaos of his life. Unlike the luxurious venues he was accustomed to, this cafe was simple, filled with the rich aroma of freshly roasted coffee, rustic wooden tables, and soft light filtering through the trees outside. Adrian appreciated the quiet and the sense of comfort the place offered. As Adrian flipped through the pages of the book in his hand, his gaze was drawn to a young woman busy serving tables. She was unlike anyone he'd seen at the grand parties or social events he often attended. Her golden hair was loosely tied back, her face bore gentle, natural features, and her bright eyes radiated a surprising optimism. She exuded a simple yet captivating beauty. Adrian continued to watch her from afar until she approached his table, carrying the coffee he had just ordered. With a soft smile, she said, "Have a great day." Adrian looked up, nodding in response, but found it difficult to look away from her. He felt something unusual about her, a calm, warm presence that was rare in the world he inhabited. For a moment, the noise of life seemed to fade away. The woman was Emily Carter, a part-time waitress at the cafe. Emily was not just an employee. She was the sole caregiver for her younger sister, Sarah, after their parents had tragically passed away in a car accident a few years prior. Despite her hardships, Emily carried a perpetual smile and an unwaveringly optimistic spirit, tackling every challenge with grace. To her, each day was a new opportunity to do better for herself and for her sister, the only family she had left. As Emily moved to serve other tables, Adrian's eyes followed her. For the first time in years, he felt a strange sensation, not mere attraction, but a sense of empathy and connection that he couldn't quite explain. The entire morning, Adrian found it impossible to focus on the book before him. He began to wonder why someone like Emily, with her simple and radiant presence, had managed to occupy his thoughts so completely. Then a sudden thought flashed through his mind. What if she could help me fulfill my mother's final wish? The idea sounded crazy, but to Adrian, it might just be the perfect solution. He needed someone trustworthy, genuine, and special enough to bring true happiness to his mother's heart. And Emily, though a complete stranger, seemed to embody all of those qualities. Adrian decided he would find a way to talk to her more. He needed to understand her life, her thoughts, and her values before taking the next step in his plan. That entire day, Adrian's heart, long accustomed to coldness and rationality, began to beat to a different rhythm. Chapter 3. The Unexpected Proposal. A few days later, during dinner with his mother, Eleanor once again brought up her final wish. Her eyes held warmth, but also a deep worry that she might not have enough time to witness her son's happiness. "Adrian, I don't ask for much," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I just want to see you settled, with someone who will always be by your side when I'm no longer here." Adrian fell silent. He loved his mother more than anyone else in the world, but the idea of marriage was something he could barely tolerate. However, a bold idea suddenly crossed his mind. If I can't love and marry for real, why not create a fake marriage? It could bring his mother happiness without compromising his independent life. Immediately, the image of Emily came to Adrian's mind. The cafe waitress, with her calm demeanor and natural beauty, seemed like the perfect candidate for his plan. Determined, Adrian decided to return to the cafe, this time with a clear purpose. That afternoon, as Emily brought coffee to his table, Adrian set his cup down slowly and looked straight at her. "I need a favor," he began, his voice calm, "and I'm willing to compensate you generously." Emily frowned, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and caution. "What kind of favor?" she asked carefully. Adrian took a deep breath, lowering his voice to avoid drawing attention. "I want you to pretend to be my wife for 3 months. In return, I'll pay off all your debts and cover your sister's education expenses." His words left Emily stunned. She froze, unsure of how to react. It was a strange and almost insulting proposition, yet it came with an opportunity that could completely change her and her sister's lives. "I don't think this is something I can do," she said, trying to keep her voice steady but unable to hide her confusion. Adrian didn't give up. He gently explained his mother's condition, a terminal illness, and her final wish. His voice grew more sincere. "My mother is the most important person in my life. I just want her to leave this world with a smile and peace in her heart. I'm not forcing you, Emily, but please think about it. This could bring my mother happiness and make your life easier as well." Emily looked at him, her eyes filled with conflicting emotions. He didn't seem like someone merely trying to achieve a selfish goal. She saw the love and sacrifice Adrian had for his mother, and it made her hesitate. "I need time to think," she said softly before walking away. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room, wrestling with everything Adrian had said. The image of her younger sister, Sarah, flashed in her mind. A little girl growing up with simple dreams that Emily struggled to fulfill. Accepting Adrian's proposal would erase their debts and secure Sarah's future. But a fake marriage? Could she go through with it without compromising her self-respect and her life? The next morning, Emily returned to the cafe with her decision made. When she saw Adrian sitting at his usual table, she approached him, her voice firm yet gentle. "I'll do it, but not for the money. I understand how much you love your mother, and I think I can help you fulfill her final wish." Adrian looked at her, his eyes revealing a mix of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Emily," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I promise to do everything to ensure you feel safe and respected throughout this arrangement." They shook hands, a handshake marking the beginning of a journey filled with surprises, one that neither of them could have anticipated. Chapter 4. Stepping into Adrian's world. The day Emily moved into Adrian's mansion was one she would never forget. The sprawling estate, with its grand black iron gates and towering white stone walls, felt like an entirely different world. The driveway was lined with meticulously trimmed trees, leading to a central courtyard where a lavish fountain stood, its intricate design a testament to wealth and power Emily had never known. Adrian greeted her in the grand foyer, his usual calm demeanor and confident posture unchanged. "Welcome to my home, or should I say, our home," he said, emphasizing the last words with a touch of humor. Emily forced a smile, unable to hide her awkwardness. In the early days, Emily felt completely out of place. Adrian, ever the perfectionist, had hired an entire team of experts to train her to become a proper lady. They coached her on everything from selecting appropriate attire to mastering the proper use of cutlery during high society dinners, even teaching her how to walk with elegance. "Straighten your back. Walk slowly but naturally. Don't bow your head, Emily," the trainer's voice echoed in the vast living room as Emily struggled to maintain balance in a pair of high heels. "I'm not a model," she muttered, on the verge of losing her patience. Adrian stood nearby, arms crossed as he observed, his lips curling into a faint smile. "You'll need to get used to this. All eyes will be on us at the upcoming events," he remarked. Emily turned to him, her gaze challenging. "I'm not used to being scrutinized, but I guess you enjoy it, don't you?" Adrian chuckled, surprised by her defiance. For the first time, he realized she wasn't as fragile as he had assumed. Living under the same roof, the two often clashed. Emily struggled to adapt to the luxurious lifestyle, with meals prepared by private chefs and Adrian's almost military precision in scheduling. His rigid routines often left her feeling stifled. "Why does everything in your house have to follow a schedule?" she asked once when Adrian reminded her about breakfast time. "Even eating feels like a meeting." Adrian shrugged, unbothered by her complaints. "That's how things run efficiently. Too much freedom leads to chaos." Emily shot him a sarcastic look. "Are you sure you're living or just functioning like a machine?" Though their arguments often ended without resolution, each passing day revealed new facets of each other's personalities. Emily soon discovered that beneath Adrian's cold exterior and obsessive control lay a man deeply scarred by past wounds. Losing his father at a young age had left a void that he struggled to fill. His need for control wasn't born out of love for perfection, but fear of losing what mattered most. His unwavering devotion to his mother was the clearest evidence of this. One evening, as Adrian led Emily on a stroll through the backyard garden, he opened up unexpectedly. "My mother is the only reason I've worked so hard all these years. She gave up her entire life so I could have everything I have now. I can't let her leave this world feeling disappointed." Emily listened in silence, sensing the pain Adrian carefully hid in his voice. For Adrian, he began to see a different side of Emily, a sincerity and resilience that set her apart from the women he had known in his opulent world. Emily worked tirelessly and faced life's challenges head-on to care for her younger sister. This unwavering determination captivated him in ways he couldn't ignore. One day, as he watched Emily help the household staff clear the dining table, Adrian couldn't help but comment, "You don't have to do that. It's not your job." Emily turned to him with a smile. "I know, but I like helping, even in small ways." In that moment, Adrian realized that Emily's strength wasn't in grand gestures or words, but in her simple, meaningful actions. Gradually, the initial awkwardness and conflicts gave way to understanding and mutual respect. Emily no longer felt like an outsider in Adrian's world, and Adrian began to view life with a lighter perspective. Yet neither of them could admit that amidst the lessons, conversations, and confrontations, something deeper was quietly taking root in their hearts. Chapter 5. The Moments of Change. The family gathering began as the golden hues of sunset bathed the sprawling garden behind the Harper mansion. Rows of tables adorned with fresh flowers and glimmering candles created an ambiance that was both warm and elegant. Eleanor, dressed in a soft pastel gown, greeted guests with a radiant smile, even as her frailty hinted at her condition. She was determined to make the evening memorable, not just for herself, but for Adrian as well. Emily, wearing a simple yet refined light blue dress, moved gracefully among the crowd. Her presence was understated, yet she captured attention with her genuine warmth and sincerity that radiated through every gesture and word. Adrian, clad in a sleek black suit, stood in a corner of the garden, quietly observing. He couldn't help but notice how effortlessly Emily conversed with the guests. Whether it was difficult relatives or strangers meeting her for the first time, she made everyone feel at ease. She wasn't just fulfilling her role as his wife, but exuded something more, a sense of authenticity that left him both surprised and proud. A defining moment came when Eleanor attempted to rise from her seat to greet some old friends, but struggled. Emily immediately stepped forward, gently supporting her. "Let me help you," she said softly. Eleanor smiled warmly, her eyes filled with affection. Emily stayed by her side, engaging her in a kind conversation and tending to her needs, earning admiration from those nearby. During the party, Emily shared a small story about her life, how she and her younger sister overcame hardships after losing their parents. Her words held the room captive, and several guests couldn't hide their emotions. "You're incredibly strong," an elderly relative remarked. "Not everyone could maintain such optimism." Emily merely offered a modest smile, saying nothing more, though her eyes shone with a quiet determination. Adrian, watching from afar, felt a tightness in his chest. He had never imagined that someone as unassuming as Emily could leave such a powerful impression. As the evening drew to a close and guests began to depart, Eleanor pulled Adrian aside. In the soft glow of the garden's ambient lights, she placed her hand on his arm, her gaze both gentle and resolute. "You've found someone special, haven't you?" she asked, her tone tender yet firm. Adrian froze at the unexpected question. He tried to maintain his composed expression, but the hesitation in his eyes betrayed him. "Are you talking about Emily?" he asked, feigning indifference. Eleanor smiled knowingly. "I've been watching you all evening, Adrian. The way you look at Emily, it's different. You may think this is just an arrangement, but your heart doesn't lie." Adrian remained silent, his mother's words striking a chord deep within him. "Emily is an extraordinary woman," Eleanor continued. "She doesn't just put me at ease, she's changed you. You've become more open, more gentle. Don't let her slip away, Adrian. Women like Emily don't come around twice in a lifetime." Her words stirred something profound within Adrian. He thought back to every moment he had shared with Emily, from their first encounter at the cafe to her candid honesty, and today, her ability to win over his entire family. Adrian couldn't deny that he was drawn to Emily, not just by her appearance, but by the authenticity and strength hidden behind her gentle smile. Later that night, as the mansion fell into silence, Adrian sat in his study, staring at a photograph of his mother on his desk. Memories of his childhood flooded his mind. Eleanor's unwavering determination to raise him alone, her sacrifices, and how she always prioritized his happiness above all else. Now she was placing her final hope in him. Adrian sighed, his expression somber. He wasn't sure when he had started to fall for Emily, but he knew one thing for certain: his feelings were real. What had started as a plan to bring his mother joy had become something he couldn't imagine living without. Emily had become integral to his life. But how could he tell her? How could he convince Emily that his feelings weren't part of the original arrangement? Adrian understood that if he didn't act soon, he might lose her forever. He needed to find a way to express his heart before it was too late. Chapter 6: The Truth Unveiled. One morning, as golden sunlight streamed through the curtains, Adrian received an unexpected call from Lucas, a former friend he had severed ties with years ago. Lucas's voice over the phone was cold and laced with mockery. "Adrian, I heard you've gotten married. Fascinating to learn that this marriage is nothing but a performance," Lucas said, his tone steady yet full of insinuation. "I wonder what Eleanor would think if she knew her son was deceiving her." Adrian froze, gripping the phone tightly. "Lucas, this has nothing to do with you," he said, striving to keep his composure. "Stay out of it." "Oh, but it does. It's about your reputation, Adrian. And you know me. I love exposing interesting secrets," Lucas replied, a faint chuckle escaping him. "Unless, of course, you have something to offer that will make me keep quiet." The call ended, leaving Adrian in a state of heightened tension. He wasn't concerned about his reputation. He could handle anything, but the thought of hurting Eleanor terrified him. She was fragile, and learning the truth might break her heart. Adrian decided not to tell Emily about Lucas's threats, but Lucas had already taken matters into his own hands. One afternoon, while Emily was arranging flowers in the living room, Lucas appeared, a calculating smile on his face. "Hello, Emily. I hear you're Adrian's wife," Lucas said, his cold eyes scrutinizing her. "You seem like a smart woman, so you must know this charade can't last forever." Emily paused, turning to face him. "What do you want?" she asked calmly, though her eyes betrayed her wariness. "I just think Eleanor deserves to know the truth. It's her right, isn't it?" Lucas shrugged. "But I imagine you understand how much that would hurt her." Emily felt her heart tighten. She couldn't bear the thought of Eleanor being hurt, but she also refused to let someone like Lucas manipulate Adrian. After a sleepless night, Emily made up her mind. She would face Eleanor and tell her the truth before Lucas could destroy everything. The next morning, Emily gathered her courage and approached Eleanor's room. However, just as she raised her hand to knock, Adrian appeared, his expression serious. "Emily, what are you planning to do?" he asked, his voice low but filled with concern. "I have to tell her," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "I can't let Eleanor be hurt by someone like Lucas." Adrian stepped closer, taking her hand in his. "Emily, I understand your intentions, but I can't let you bear this burden alone," he said, his tone pleading. "I'll deal with Lucas myself, but please don't say anything to my mother." Emily looked at Adrian, sensing both fear and sincerity in his eyes. He wasn't just worried about Eleanor. He was worried about her, too. "Adrian, I don't want to hurt her either, but the truth will come out," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't keep pretending." Adrian was silent for a moment before finally speaking. "Emily, I don't care what others think, but what matters to me is how you and my mother feel. You're both the most important people in my life. Let me handle this my way." Emily was stunned, unable to find the words. Was she truly important to Adrian? She couldn't deny the growing connection between them, the kindness hidden beneath his cold exterior, the way he devoted himself to his mother, and the moments of vulnerability he let slip. Meanwhile, Lucas continued his attempts to stir trouble, but Adrian had prepared himself. He met Lucas at a quiet cafe, his gaze steady and resolute. "Lucas, you think you can ruin my life, but you've forgotten. I'm not easily intimidated," Adrian said, his voice sharp. "If you dare hurt my mother or Emily, I won't let it slide." Lucas realized that Adrian was no longer the man he used to know. The confidence and determination in Adrian's words made him hesitate. "Fine, Adrian. I'll back off, but let's see how long this marriage of yours lasts," Lucas said, standing up and walking away. Adrian knew he had protected the two most important people in his life, but more than that, he realized it was time to stop pretending and confront the truth, not just with his mother, but also with his feelings for Emily. Chapter 7. Facing Eleanor. That morning, bathed in the soft sunlight streaming across the garden, Adrian sat beside Eleanor. She sipped her tea with a serene smile, though her face showed signs of weariness. Adrian watched his mother closely, his heart heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. "Adrian, is there something you want to tell me?" Eleanor asked, her perceptive gaze piercing through the facade Adrian had tried so hard to maintain. He took a deep breath. It was time to face the truth. "Mother, I need to confess something," Adrian said, his voice low and steady. "The marriage between Emily and me, it wasn't real at first. We arranged everything to make you happy." Eleanor remained silent, placing her teacup gently on the table. Her face showed no anger, only a fleeting sadness. "You did this for me?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "Yes," Adrian nodded. "I wanted you to feel happy, to believe I had settled down and had the family you always wished for." A long silence stretched between them, broken only by the chirping of birds in the garden. Finally, Eleanor smiled faintly. "Adrian, I don't blame you. I know you did all of this for me. But my dear, happiness cannot be staged. It must come from the heart." Adrian felt his chest tighten. He had braced himself for disappointment, yet his mother's words were filled with understanding and grace, leaving him both relieved and ashamed. That afternoon, Emily entered the living room where Adrian was waiting. She had overheard everything and wasn't sure how Eleanor would react. When Eleanor saw Emily, she smiled warmly and reached out to take her hand. "Emily, you are a special woman," Eleanor said. "Even though your marriage to Adrian didn't begin in the usual way, I see the sincerity in how you've treated both me and Adrian. That is what truly matters." Emily felt the warmth in every word Eleanor spoke, and tears streamed down her face. It wasn't just acceptance she felt, but the deep, overwhelming sense of truly belonging to this family. Eleanor's kind and forgiving words bridged the gap between the staged beginning of their relationship and the genuine connection that had since developed. Both Adrian and Emily realized that their journey together had brought them closer to something real, something worth fighting for. Chapter 8, True Love. A few days later, Adrian decided he could wait no longer. He needed Emily to know the truth about his feelings. He found her in the garden, sitting on a bench, reading as she often did after caring for Eleanor. "Emily," Adrian called softly as he approached, "I need to tell you something." Emily looked up, her eyes a mix of curiosity and worry. "I was wrong," Adrian began, his voice steady. "Wrong to think I could pretend in this marriage. Because somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. Not as part of an act, not as a deal. It's real." Emily was stunned, her eyes reflecting her inner turmoil. She didn't know what to say, but her heart had known the answer for a long time. Adrian stepped closer, taking her hands in his. His gaze held all the emotions he could no longer hide. "Emily, I don't want a fake marriage anymore. I want a real family with you," Adrian said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Stay with me, not because of a contract, but because of us." Emily smiled through her tears, which streamed freely down her cheeks. "I agree," she replied, her voice firm. "I'll stay with you, not for anything else but love." Adrian and Emily decided to have a wedding soon after confessing their feelings to each other. Eleanor, despite her frail health, was overjoyed at the news. She encouraged them to hold the ceremony quickly so she could witness the happiest moment of her son's life. For the first time in his life, Adrian felt genuine excitement as he prepared for the wedding. He didn't want an extravagant event, only a warm, intimate gathering with their closest loved ones. Emily agreed, and they chose to hold the ceremony in the Harper Estate garden, a place that had witnessed so many pivotal moments in their relationship. The wedding took place on a crisp autumn afternoon, with golden sunlight casting a gentle glow over the flower-filled garden. Eleanor sat in the front row, her face radiant with contentment. Despite her health challenges, she insisted on attending the ceremony from start to finish. Emily walked down the aisle in an elegant white gown, her brown hair cascading softly down her shoulders. Adrian, in a sharp black suit, couldn't take his eyes off her. A profound peace settled over him, a feeling he had never known before. As they exchanged vows before Eleanor and a small gathering of close friends, there wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. Their vows were not just promises for the future, but a heartfelt acknowledgement of the journey they had endured together. After the ceremony, Eleanor took Adrian and Emily's hands, her eyes shining brightly despite her physical exhaustion. "I'm so proud of you both," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Cherish this love, and never forget what matters most. Family is everything." It was a moment Adrian would never forget. The wedding wasn't just the beginning of a new chapter for him and Emily. It was the greatest gift he could give to the mother he loved so dearly. From that day forward, Adrian and Emily entered into married life, not as part of an agreement or a pretense, but as a true love story. Thank you for following our story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Your feedback means